Whales, massive, sleek, smooth creatures of the water. It seems no animal could get in their way. But what happens when large, loud energy creators are put into the middle of their migration paths, disrupting their daily lives and producing sounds at piercing volumes? Minke whales, commonly found along the south and east coast, can grow up to 20,000 pounds and 35 feet long, and can live up to 50 years. Found in Alaska, New England, the Atlantic, the Pacific Islands, the Southeast, and the West Coast. Smaller minke whales can be seen in the southern Atlantic or Pacific, as well as the Indian Ocean. Other subspecies of minke whales can be found in the north, specifically in the northern Pacific. They are among the smallest in the rorqual group, which is the largest of baleen whales. They can be dark black, gray, or brown with a white bottom. Calves are born darker and then grow lighter once they become adults. Female minke whales are usually much larger than males. Minke whales have a sickle-shaped dorsal fin and have 230 to 360 small, white-colored plates on the sides of their mouths. Minke whales can be seen eating crustaceans, plankton, anchovies, dogfish, cuttlefish, cod, eels, and other small schoolfish. They can be seen in smaller groups of 2 to 3, but have also been seen in groups of 400. However, this is very rare. Minke whales grab their prey by side lunging at schools of fish and other groups of prey. They then inhale copious amounts of water in order to eat the fish. In order to breathe, they move to the surface and create a spray that can be called rooster tail. They can be found quickly moving to the surface with their snout. Before they go into the deep water, they have to arch in order to reveal most of their back and body. They are able to be underwater for 15 minutes, but are mostly found near the surface. Common minke whales like temperate boreal waters, but have also been seen in tropical areas. They also enjoy feeding in water that is colder and at a higher altitude near coastal areas. Underwater noise affects these whales due to the fact that they use a lower frequency sound to talk to other whales and find prey. They make clicks, grunts, pulse trains, thumps, and other sounds in order to talk. You may be wondering, why just focus on minke whales? Throughout the last 10 years, most of the whales that have shown up on Rhode Island and Massachusetts beaches have been of the minke whale species, while there are others, like humpbacks, that are commonly seen. Minke whales hold the highest record in Massachusetts and Rhode Island for whale deaths, and they are most commonly seen on all of these beaches. In October of 1972, the Marine Mammal Protection Act was passed in response to concerns that scientists and the public had in regarding marine animals. Marine mammals were starting to become extinct or were lessening in population due to human activities, as well as things like importing. The act prevents marine mammal species from going extinct or getting to a point where they are no longer functioning or significant in their ecosystem due to human activity. In the last 50 years, there has been improvement among marine species, and large whales are finally recovering from whaling, and other species are coming back from overexploitation. Some marine mammals are still impacted from human activities, such as fishing and habitat loss, while others are challenged with water warming and the rising of the oceans. MMPA was the first legislation to be put into place that regards ecosystem-based marine management, and it continues to help marine life stay healthy and stable in their ecosystems. Humans have been using wind turbines since 5000 BC in the Nile River, and by the 11th century there were new ways created in order to make wind energy in the Middle East. By 2040, wind turbines are expected to be the main use of energy in order to get away from fossil fuels. Wind turbines are used to take energy from the wind and then create electricity. Turbines are mounted to the ocean floor, and the cables are then able to transfer electricity to an offshore station. In the middle of the turbine, there is a hub that supports the blade and allows it to have a good angle and rotation. The blades then take in the wind energy and turn it into mechanical energy. The nacelle in the back of the turbine houses the mechanisms needed to change the wind into the mechanical energy. The foundation of the turbine is to ensure that the tower is properly mounted to the seafloor. The array of cables are what link the turbine together and bring power to the offshore substation. Then, the offshore substation is able to collect and hold the power so that they can transmit the energy to the shore. The tower also supports all of these components, and the export cable is buried so deep into the ocean that it will not disturb any wildlife. Horizontal directional drilling is used to lay export transmission cables from offshore wind turbines, and it lessens the environmental impacts. An onshore connection is also where electricity is transmitted to the already made transmission network. While wind turbines have always been mildly controversial, in 2023, when 10 whales washed up dead in New Jersey, people really started to question if wind turbines were related. Last year set a record for the amount of whales and dolphins that were stranded in southeastern Massachusetts and parts of Rhode Island. Misty Niemeyer, who is the coordinator for the International Fund for Animal Welfare and has responded to over 500 beached whales across Cape Cod, says that the number of stranded whales is shocking, but not at all surprising. Others, like Noah, say that there are no known links between whale deaths and ongoing offshore wind activities. However, independent groups like GreenOcean and Act for Whales have different opinions. GreenOcean is funded through volunteer work and donations. Act for Whales is normally funded by right-winged organizations who encourage the use of fossil fuels. Earlier in the year, I had the opportunity to speak with Lori Knight, a member of the GreenOcean group, and she expressed her concerns of the effects of wind turbines and encouraged the use of nuclear energy. On Saturday, July 13th, one of the blades on turbine AW38 off the coast of Nantucket was damaged while it was being put through testing. The Coast Guard sent out a notice to mariners in the area to use caution because there could be debris. A little after that, the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement sent out a verbal suspension order demanding that the operations at the site stop. On Monday, July 15th, the BSEE filed a written suspension order, and the Vineyard Wind created a press release issuing a statement about the turbine event. On Tuesday, July 16th, the people of Nantucket started to report finding small and large fiberglass and foam debris around many of the beaches. Vineyard Wind sent out contractors to help the town clean up, and Nantucket was forced to close swimming at these beaches. On Wednesday, July 17th, that night, the Nantucket Select Board meeting hosted Vineyard Wind, and they answered questions from people who were worried about the environmental impacts from the turbine. The CEO apologized and said that they were truly sorry. On Thursday, July 18th, around 300 feet of the 350-foot blade came apart from the turbine and fell into the water at around 7 a.m. Boats were sent out to get the debris, and workers were sent to Nantucket expecting more debris to end up on the shore. The House Minority Leader, Brad Jones, chose the legislation which will look to take action during the permit process for clean energy developments. He said, "We don't know whether it's a one-off. We don't know whether it's something much more serious and systematic that's going to repeat itself. We're lucky there were no fatalities or injuries, but there were obviously beach closures." A couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of speaking with Michael Lombardi, a scientist, professional diver, and part of the group GreenOcean. He was able to get a hold of some of the debris that this incident left behind, and he talked to me about the dangers of microplastics that these turbines were creating. Lombardi is not necessarily against wind energy, but he had this to say.
We have petroleum-derived products in everything. That's not going to go away. In our clothes, in our phones, in our cameras, in our vehicles. I mean, there are plastics everywhere. And there are petroleum-derived chemicals used in industrial processes for everything. You can't get that from wind. You can't get it from solar. Like, it's only going to come from fossil fuels, petroleum. So we're stuck with petroleum um, derived goods. That's a fact of life. Now, can you take a chunk out of that and to kind of diversify the energy piece? Yeah, sure. I put solar on my roof 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't had an electric bill since. I think that's fantastic. I think wind power is viable when applied appropriately, meaning not at an industrial scale in the middle of a migratory path of an endangered species. Put it in a place where there's little to no impact on the environment, and it makes use of existing industrial areas where the impacts will be very low. Put them in the middle of a landfill. Put them down these industrial corridors that already have pipelines run or power cables run. Put them on all the tallest mountain ridges. There are places where wind can be harnessed safely and effectively. Now there are still issues. So there are people that live in proximity to land-based wind farms and report all kinds of issues. I'm not close to it. I can't really speak to it.
Mr. Lombardi later explained that wind turbines can cause certain illnesses in people, such as dizziness and nausea. While this does not affect whales, turbines also have an impact on human health. In another eye-opening case, a tagged whale named Luna was found dead on Long Island in January of 2023, which marked one of many whale deaths along the East Coast. Environmentalists and experts like Apostles Garasolis, a computer scientist and creator of a search engine, began to look into offshore wind activities, specifically the loud sonar blasts that are created by search vessels. He was trying to figure out if they were responsible for these sudden increases in whale deaths. He developed a system called Luna that analyzed data from the NOAA and survey ship paths, and he found a significant correlation between increased whale deaths and offshore wind activity after 2016. The NOAA still says that there is no link, but Garaselli argues that sonar noise from vessels disrupts whales' ability to navigate, and the sudden increase in whale deaths in the area links with wind surveys. He has created a call for action and wants more research to study and look into the impact of offshore wind farms on marine life. President Trump's executive order halting offshore wind projects was created because he believes that wind turbines could harm whales due to noise from construction activities like high-resolution geophysical surveys and pile driving. However, marine expert Doug Nowak thinks that the noise from HRG surveys is not hurting whales because it is outside of their hearing area. Research has shown that short-term disruption from pile driving does not significantly affect whale behavior. Scientists also say that other sources of noise, like shipping and seismic airgun surveys from the oil and gas industry, are more harmful to marine life than wind farms. Whale deaths are more commonly attributed to ship strikes, entanglement in fishing gear, and the effects of climate change, rather than offshore wind construction. The North Atlantic right whale, in particular, faces significant threats from these factors. Experts believe that continuing offshore wind development, while focusing on other threats like climate change and vessel collisions, is the best way to protect whale populations. Scientists from the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Sciences Chesapeake Biological Laboratory, along with researchers from Cornell and Duke universities, are studying how the construction of offshore wind farms off of Maryland's coast affects marine mammals like porpoises, whales, and dolphins. While offshore wind energy is a valuable renewable resource, the process of building wind turbines, especially during loud construction phases, can disrupt marine animals by interfering with their communication, feeding, and navigation. Dr. Helen Bailey, who is leading the study, emphasized the importance of knowing where marine animals spend their time in order to protect them. She noted that it's essential to reduce harmful impacts during construction. To track the behavior of harbor porpoises, one of the smallest marine animals, scientists developed underwater microphones called hydrophones between 65 and 145 feet deep to record echolocation clicks over a 1-year period. These porpoises use sonar-like echolocation to detect prey and navigate. Bailey's team found that the porpoises are more common off Maryland's coast during the winter than previously thought, especially between January and May. They also tend to feed during the evening and early morning. Jessica Winfield, a member of the research team, explained that these findings suggest that construction scheduled during the summer months
from June to September could help minimize harm to the porpoises, since they are less active in the area during that time. The research aims to guide environmentally responsible wind energy development by identifying ways to protect marine animals during construction activities.
Upon doing this documentary, I wasn't sure where I stood about wind turbines and the effects that they have on whales. Upon doing research, it became clear that whale deaths are now normalized. 20 years ago, if there was a whale death or a stranding, people would have been on the beach taking pictures with it. It would have been a very large news story, but now you rarely hear anything about it. Whales are washing up almost every single day, and last year it reached a maximum point of whale deaths in a singular year. While climate change does certainly have an effect with the rising of the temperatures in the water, pH, things of that nature, there are also other factors such as drilling for oil, drilling for gas, but then there's also the drilling for wind turbines. The sound decibels that are created for wind turbines is immaculate. Whales can only hear up to a certain decibel, and after they reach over 185, it's become ear-piercing for whales. It's about that if we went to a concert. You know how when you come back from a concert, you have like the ringing in your ears? That's what a whale feels when there's pile driving. So upon doing research, it's come to my attention that while wind turbines are a great source of renewable energy, they should not be in the middle of the ocean. Not only does it affect whales, but it affects other marine life, and it also affects ships that are simply trying to pass through. It affects coastal communities. The health impacts of wind turbines can include sleepless nights, dizziness, nausea. They not only have an impact on whale health, but they also have an impact on human health. I believe, and so does Mr. Lombardi, a man that I was incredibly grateful to speak to, we believe that wind turbines should be put in areas that are already industrialized, and they should be put in areas that are possibly already polluted. We do not need to be putting man-made structures and industrialization into places that have never been touched by mankind before. Putting a turbine in the middle of the ocean not only takes away from a visual appeal, but it's just polluting more lands that doesn't need to be polluted. In the beginning of this documentary, I wasn't going to make it biased, and I hope that while you were watching this, I made enough facts to definitely support both sides. But I did want to come on here and explain something that I had learned, and explain that in the beginning I was very skeptical, and I can 100% say that I was most likely against offshore wind. A part of me was like, oh, it's renewable energy. But, well, some people have extremely strong opinions. Some think that wind turbines, they should just be gone. Completely, it should just be gone. I don't think so. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think that they should be in the oceans, but I definitely think that we should have them, just in places that already have industrialization. Through my research, I also found out that when whales wash to shore, scientists go out and take tissue samples. However, they usually do not grab the ear tissue or get there in time to take the sample because this is the first to decompose. Without this data, it is hard to tell if whales are losing their hearing. Ms. Lombardi also told me that some are not getting to the location in time, or they are showing up hours after the whale was found. This was very strange to us. The main point of this documentary was to figure out if there was correlations between whale deaths and offshore wind farms. And after conducting much research, there is no scientific evidence that proves that whales are being directly affected by offshore wind turbines. However, there is a lot of odd things surrounding the topic, and it seems that some experts may be trying to keep information from the public. When I first heard about wind turbines in relation to whale deaths, I had no idea what the topic was about. This shows that education systems are not educating children on the things that they should be. This is a new topic that has come about in the last couple of years with the increase of green energy. When I spoke with Lori Knight, we talked about what school systems could do in order to incorporate this topic into their curriculum. We talked about doing possible math problems or graphs in relation to sound decibels and wind turbines in whales. If school systems are able to incorporate this topic into their curriculum, it could help raise more awareness and people could become more privy to the idea. Currently, some legislations are trying to be passed in order to halt wind turbines. If you are interested in helping, you can go on GreenOcean's website, and at the bottom there's a petition.